2 years ago, I ignored the events of October 7th. It was part of my personal policy of ignoring what was happening in historic Palestine, as well as just tuning out the concept of terror from my daily life. It wasn't until days later that I learned the scope of what had happened that day. And when I did, I put out a video talking about how things are complicated and how none of us know what's going on, and we all need to just calm down. That was projecting my own insecurities of being unknowledgeable on the topic, because there are people who have been extremely aware about what was going on, and I was too arrogant to think that I wasn't one of them. I assumed that if I was ignorant about something, that must be what most people were. So I made a video not just saying that I was ignorant, but flaunting it. Acting like I was somehow better than anyone else, because not only was I ignorant, I didn't want to take sides in something that I was ignorant about. But both of those personal policies of mine always led me to the same conclusions, which were to never learn and to never act. And I was embarrassed and ashamed as I did start to learn, to realize that the answers are actually right there. The answers are glaringly obvious. The answer that yes, the colonial apartheid regime who had pushed the people they were colonizing into the single largest concentration camp in history, and then were now mowing down people indiscriminately as they ramped up their genocide. It turns out that they were the bad guys in the situation. And I had to come back on here and admit that I was fucking wrong. I had to admit that I was ignorant. And I had to admit that I was lazy. I had to admit that because I didn't want to be those things forever. And you know what happened? People cheered me. They cheered this ignorant, lazy me, which just highlighted how wrong I was. I was scared that if I weighed in, if I took stands, that people would hate me. Instead, I received the most kind outpourings of love and support that I had ever experienced in my life, which first and foremost speaks to the kindness and the compassion of the Palestinian people. And it also speaks to what is to be gained from just speaking up when something needs to be said. 2 years later, that's what we are all called to be doing. It is as simple as that. And unfortunately, this conflict is now pouring out into more and more theaters around the world. The genocide of Palestinians is just one way that this global conflict is playing out. But we need to understand that that conflict is intrinsically linked to our neighbors being disappeared in the middle of the night. It is intrinsically linked to the fact that indigenous people around the so-called United States are having their land encroached upon